Good afternoon. Today is Friday, May 22nd, 2020. My name is Ricardo Sandoval, and this video is for week 2, for Laboratory 2 of Biology 225, Microbiology at Los Angeles Pacific University for summer term 1. This lab 2, is titled Aseptic Technique and Culturing Microbes. So what I'll be doing and showing you in this video is I will be inoculating or transferring, if you will, cultures for E. coli, Staphylococcus epidermis or S. epidermis, and Staphylococcus cerevisiae or S. cerevisiae that I've cultured over the past 2 days. So I do have my specimens here. Oops, let me just flip the camera angle. I think that would help. So this is my specimen here for E. coli that I've developed in nutrient broth. And as you can see, it is a bit turbid and a bit flocculent, and there is some growth at the bottom. So I'm pretty sure there is some E. coli in there. Now, E. coli, of course, is normal flora that lives in our intestines. But it can also be pathogenic. It can also cause digestive diseases, diarrhea, and other nasty things among them. So I also have the S. cerevisiae that I cultured from, I guess, brewing, if you will, some yeast in warm water, and then added it to the nutrient broth here. And then the last culture is S. epidermis, and of course S. epidermis lives on the skin. Staphylococcus epidermis, it is normal flora, normally non-pathogenic, but for patients in hospitals, it can become what's called a nosocomial infection, hospital-acquired infection, that can be problematic for patients who have IV catheters inserted, Foley catheters, chest tubes, things of that sort. So I'm going to transfer samples of each of these 3 cultures using these 3 inoculation loops. I do have some alcohol here that I will use to sterilize my inoculation loops before the culture transfer. And then I have my Petri dishes here with some agar poured earlier for E. coli, S. epidermis, and S. cerevisiae. And in the transferring process, I'll be using 4 quadrants. So it'll be like quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4 to grow cultures. I also have this, and this is just a solution, a 10% bleach solution that I will use here momentarily to sterilize my work surface before beginning. And then I have a tea light and a lighter, and of course here's a sign just kind of summarizing the lab, today's date, things of that sort. So with that said, I'm going to sterilize my work surface with the bleach solution, put my gloves on, goggles on, and get started. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to sterilize my inoculation loop. So I'm just going to dip it here in some alcohol, and there we go. So that's now sterilized. So this is my culture for E. coli. I have here my agar for E. coli. So I need to, or I'm going to sterilize my E. coli tube here. As you can see, I've already done it before, so it's a little bit black. So I'm just going to run it through the flame gently and quickly, just to make sure there's no bacteria, no microbiota, nothing pathogenic, so that I get a clean sample. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert very carefully my inoculation loop straight into the broth. And now this is going to go into my first quadrant of my agar in a zigzag motion here. Hopefully I'm doing this right. Zigging and zagging here. Okay. So that's the first quadrant. And then I'm going to go ahead and close up my agar for a minute. This is going to go back into my alcohol. And then I'm going to go ahead and flame this again. And then I'm going to go ahead and replace the lid on the E. coli culture. Okay. So now that there's culture already in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically use that existing culture to inoculate the remaining 4 quadrants. So I'm just letting my inoculation loop sit for another couple of seconds, and then we'll proceed with the inoculation of quadrants 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so let's just set in alcohol for about 20 seconds. I'm just going to shake it dry. And then now we're going to do quadrant 2. So I'm just going to kind of touch it here. And quadrant 2. I'm just going to do both sides of the loop to make sure that everything's going appropriately here. Back into the alcohol. Lid on. And I'm going to let it sit for 20 seconds. Okay, it's been about 20 seconds. So I'm going to remove my inoculation loop. Oops. Let's give it another 20 seconds then. Okay, it's been about 20 seconds. Removing it from the alcohol. Just gonna bang it dry. So now I'm going to I'm going to remove my lid here from my E. coli. And I'm going to touch the corner of quadrant 2 and then transfer some microbes to quadrant 3. So, zigzag motion. Okay, this is going to go back in my alcohol. Close my lid. I'm going to give the inoculation loop another 20 seconds to properly sterilize. And then this will be the 4th quadrant for E. coli. Okay, it's been about 20 seconds. Just shaking my inoculation loop here. Lid off, and then I'm going to touch into quadrant 3, and then go into quadrant 4, and a zigzag motion here to transfer the microbes. Okay, so that's E. coli. So I'm just going to close the lid, and there it is, and I'm going to save my cultures as well, but E. coli, and just set it aside. I'm also now going to discard this inoculation loop for now, since it's been used for the E. coli culture. All right, so next up, I'm going to do S. epidermis, or Staphylococcus epidermis. So there's the petri dish with the agar and the culture with the nutrient breath. So same procedure here. I'm going to go ahead and place an inoculation loop into my alcohol just to start the sterilization process. And then I'm going to remove the lid from the culture. My agar is ready to go. And then give this about 20 seconds while I'm waiting, actually. So, yeah. While I'm waiting, I'm going to go ahead and flame the lip here just to prevent anything from growing. And I must say here, now that I've taken the lid off the S. epidermis, it does have a very pungent smell, sort of, despite my face mask, so it's a bit interesting here. But I guess that's a good sign to know that there's a culture going in there. Okay, so I've flamed my tube. I'm going to hang it dry. And so my inoculation loop is now sterilized. And again, I'm going to place the loop straight into the broth. Okay. And then I'm going to go into quadrant 1 of the S. epidermis here. A zigzag motion. Bit more successful here this time. I'm not breaking the agar as with the S. epidermis. Practice makes perfect. Okay, so that's quadrant 1. I'm going to put this back in the alcohol to sterilize. Going to set this down, put the lid on, and then I'm going to flame this again. And then I'm going to put the lid back on the culture tube and set it aside. Okay, so this has been flamed properly, and then I'm just going to put my lid back on, set it aside. It's been 20 seconds, so I'm going to go ahead and remove my inoculation loop and then proceed. So just going to bang it here. And again, I'm going to go into quadrant 1, touch it on the corner here, or the edge, both sides, and then go into quadrant 2, zigzag motion. Okay, this goes back in the alcohol. Lid on. We'll give it 20 seconds. Okay, it's been about 20 seconds. So I'm going to give it a tap here. Open my lid here, attach it to the edge of the corner of quadrant 2, both sides here, and go into quadrant 3, zigzag motion on both sides. Okay, this goes back into the alcohol. Lid on, and we'll give it another 20 seconds. Okay, it's been about 20 seconds. So I'm just going to tap. All right, get off. Dip on both sides, quadrant 3, and then go into quadrant 4. Zigzag motion. Okay. Back into the alcohol for a minute. I'm done now with the S epidermis. Just going to set it aside. And then now I'm going to go ahead and go back into, rather, do the culture transfer for S. cerevisiae. So again, I'm going to discard this loop since it was used for S. epidermis. And now this is a clean loop here. I'm going to put it in the alcohol for S. cerevisiae. My agar plate or petri dish for S. cerevisiae. And then, of course, my culture. Okay, so again, I'm going to remove the lid from the culture and then flame the tube here. And again, from the S. cerevisiae, and this I expect because yeast does ferment, a very pungent smell. I didn't really get much of a smell from the E. coli culture, but from the S. cerevisiae, yeah. And it very much smells like yeast, kind of like what it smells like when you're making bread dough. Okay, so that's flamed. Lid off my petri dish. I'm going to just kind of bang dry my inoculation loop. And then again, this is going to go straight in without touching the sides. Okay. All right, and then we're going to go into quadrant 1. Zigzag motion. Using both sides of the loop just to get a good culture. Okay. This is going back in my alcohol for 20 seconds. I'm going to flame this again and then put the lid back on. Okay, that's been flamed. Lid on, and then all 3 cultures will be saved for future use. I actually have a mini fridge in my garage, which is my workspace, where I'm keeping all of these cultures and things of that sort. Okay, so it's been about 20 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Going to go into quadrant 1, both sides, and then into quadrant 2, zigzag motion, both sides of the loop. Okay, back into the alcohol, we'll give it 20 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and extinguish my candle at this point since I've already flamed all the culture tubes. Okay, so it's been about 20 seconds. Okay, going to go into quadrant 2, both sides, and then to quadrant 3. Okay, put it into the alcohol. Lid on. And give it another 20 seconds. Okay, it's been about 20 seconds. Okay. We're going to go into quadrant 3. Sides, and then into quadrant 4. Okay, so that's that. This is back in alcohol. So I now have Cerevisiae, Acipidermis, and E. coli. These are going to go in their incubation location in my home office in a dark space, and we'll see if we have growth in 2 days. Thank you.